live. So welcome everyone. I'm Michelle Oliver and I am your host for today's Coaching Collective Live. And on Wednesdays, I'm always just so grateful to be in the company of Pete Ambrosino. He is an amazing business coach, international business coach, actually, and author. And we have a really interesting topic today. We're going to talk about the Irresistible Offer. It's a bit of a continuation of last week, but from two perspectives, correct, Pete? Welcome. And maybe you can share a little bit about what those two perspectives are. So welcome.
Thank you for having me again, Michelle. This is always, I look forward to this now that we have this meeting every week. It's so exciting for me. It actually helps me formulate and work with my clients one-on-one even better because, like today, we were just talking a minute ago before we jumped on about continuing the conversation about irresistible offer and why it's so important to have that and the different components that we need as a business to be able to know where our clients, what they desire the most and what they fear the most, and then be able to create it. And then what we're going to do is be able to tie it back into, okay, we've got your clients taken care of. Now, is your company culture taken care of with why is it so irresistible for your employees to come work with you right now or work for you right now? And what's the relationship there?
It's such a huge issue right now for everyone. It really puts the business owner in a different position, doesn't it? So they have to be even more aware. So how do you help someone? Maybe we could start with that conversation. Like, I'm a business owner and I come to you. Maybe I'm not even really thinking about that. I'm just feeling the stress of it. And I don't really know how to frame it to solve it. So maybe you could talk about that a little bit.
For sure. One of the first questions that I ask the business owner is first tell me why I would choose to do business with your company over your competitors. And most of them, where do you think most of them fall back to as their reason why? Like,
I think they fall into their product or service or value or, their value proposition. Like, we have a better widget, or it goes faster, better, sillier, or whatever.
Best
whatever
prices, greatest inventory.
Price is right.
Been in business for 35,000 years, been, all this stuff, right?
Yeah. Or me. I'm so wonderful because, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Instead of flipping it to what their ideal client really wants and desires, and taking away what they fear the most about the purchase.
Mm-hmm.
So the first step is, everybody says niche down or know your right, it's kind of a canned thing. Everybody's talking about, you have to know your ideal client. Well, I mean, you need to know your ideal, you need to know where they go on vacation. You need to know what they like to eat. Do you need to know what they do in their spare time? You need to know what they do for making money and what they do for income, right? And down to, how many kids they have, what part of town do they typically live in, all of that, because it matters, right? Because if I know you that well, I almost know what kind of makes you tick and what a hot button. I almost know that if you're a busy person with 4 kids and a Suburban and you're going to, 6 soccer games a week and you're trying to juggle a business and kids and, 6 other things going on in your life, guess what we're talking about? Time management, right? Mm-hmm. So if my product or service helps you recapture your time and I'm not talking about that, I might be doing
honestly, as you're speaking, just that one process is so powerful and such a big deal. And as you're speaking, I'm thinking, I wonder how many people really take the time to fully know who that ideal client is. Yeah. And something funny happens when you know that person. you just kind of get inside their head, right? Like you said, you obviously know it's about time management, but then you can get to know them even more deeply, and it focuses everything you do. It makes it easier, I
It does.
think, to make decisions about everything because you know what the heck you're doing.
Sure.
But how
At the
many
same,
people actually do that? Like really niche down that much? Not many.
not many.
I don't think so either.
And I'll give you a classic example. I have a client that has been in real estate for quite a long time.
Mhm.
One of the four ways that he earns income is by buying and flipping houses, buying,
Mhm.
fixing up and flipping them, right? And, we were looking to increase, what was it? I think we were looking to increase the conversions and get even more laser focused on who the mailings that he sends out go to, right? Something like that. So he's been doing this for years. And I said, look, go pull this past 6 months of records and let's look at all the similarities, of all the people that
Smart.
actually bought their house and took them
Yeah.
out of a bad situation.
It
Right?
seems like a no-brainer, right? But yeah, but we
Right.
don't do it. Yeah.
We don't do it. And these are people now. There's flippers get a bad rap, right? They're coming in. They want to steal your house. They want to buy it for
Oh,
peanuts, and
yeah.
who cares what happens to you after I steal your house from you, right?
Right.
Well,
Exactly.
right. So this guy didn't have that reputation. His heart was always in the right space, and I needed to know who was it that he was actually appealing to that would actually trust them to make this foreclosure go away and help me in the transition of getting out of this house. Right.
Mm.
And it turned out that most of these people were above 60 years old. And the reason was because, we all value the relationship, me included. I was closer to my grandfather than I was my own dad. Right.
Oh, yes.
We all value the relationship of our grandparents.
Yes.
And I am be darned if I'm going into somebody's house that is as old enough to be my grandmother and going to uproot her and steal her house from her. These people felt comfortable that he was not going to stick it to them. And he didn't every single time. So can you imagine how the change in the message was when he would send out?
Oh my gosh, because you understand those two things that you were talking about, what they want and what they're afraid of.
Yep. Yep, absolutely. I just thought of that as we were talking about it. I'm like, man, what a great example of how it's so important to get laser focused. And my privilege is I get to look, all of us can be Monday morning quarterback, right? It's the easiest thing to do, easiest job in the world. But
Yes.
I get to preemptively say, all right, let's take step by step and let's pull you out and let's get a perspective on what's really going on. Because I love doing that, number one. And then all the aha moments that happen as we bring life to a halt and pull them out of that scenario and say, okay, let's look at this now. There's so much power in that. It's unbelievably cool how when that skill is brought and they have those aha moments. And that's just one example of how it's happened. And it's such a simple thing to do.
Okay, so you've got the foundation. Now here's the person that changes your message and makes your message more compelling. They're going to connect with it more quickly. Then how do you move from that into like the actual offer?
Great question. So there's a lot of components that come in play with that. And of course, in buying real estate, or buying it from the person, that is going to change it tremendously, much more differently than me selling you some hand cream that is like the most incredible hand cream on this planet. It's one product, right? You're creating a transaction there, right? So that has many different levels, but where we also go is, what's your competition saying? Who is your competition? Who really, what business are you really in? yeah, I'm in the real estate business or I'm in the widget business. But what am I really doing with the real estate? I'm changing people's families' trees in real estate. I'm
Mhm.
changing people's financial positions in real estate, maybe giving somebody a fresh do-over,
Yes.
and
It
how,
impact, it's all about their life. I mean, oh my gosh, real estate is probably one of the most emotional industries, right? Because of the reason you shift, you move, you sell. Could be great, could be terrible. I mean, it's always emotional though. So yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And emotion drives motion, right? So
Yeah.
that's something that us as coaches, we know that if I can appeal to an, or if I can evoke an emotion around something, boy, now we can really start having some change there. And that's what most really, that's what makes the most radical shift in somebody's business, is when we can change the message ever so slightly. And I mean, there's so many ways that, as an example, but we wanted to tie this, the irresistible offer, in with company culture too, right?
Yeah. I just want to say this. I want to repeat this. That's what makes, yeah, I forget how you said it, but that's what makes the most impact in a business. You're saying when you can really connect with the emotion. And yes, we know that as coaches, but what I really like about what you're saying, Pete, is that when I ask you these questions, it's not like, okay, well, here's the direct answer. There's a whole series, like you understand not only the foundation, but what drives every single decision. And what I hear you saying is the business owner is pulling back with a bigger bird's eye view. So more perspective on what's happening. And I know for sure, as having owned a number of different businesses, that it is so easy to not do that because we're just trying to manage and things are coming at us so quickly. Even if we have certain systems in place that are assisting us, there's always something that's growing or it's always moving, right? So we tend to get sometimes rigid. It's like, okay, well, I got to hold on to this because this is working. And now I got to go over here and fix this. And oh my gosh, now this huge thing that you're going to tie the irresistible offer into is that everybody's having these employee issues. So all of a sudden we have business, but we don't have any staff, or we have so much staff. And actually the problem is the staff. Everyone is understaffed. Nobody wants to go back to work. How are people even living? I don't know.
Tell me that poor customer service is a rampant epidemic in this country right now, right?
When, that's another conversation. I do my best as one human on the planet to train everyone I meet in the customer service. It's like compassionately encouraging them, helping them know how to use a calculator because they can't figure out the percentages, and encouraging, you know what? Yes.
So now,
so disturbing.
So now take my real estate guy.
Yeah.
And let's say that the grandmother that I just met, and we struck a conversation and we designed the ability to buy the house, has the wrong kind of interaction with my girl or my guy in the office that's helping me gather paperwork to put the deal together. And they're not aligned with my value around taking care of my grandparents.
That's going to shut the deal down right there, or
Right.
at least create resistance, And you're already going down the wrong road. It's really, I think this is the first time in the history since I've been in business when it is more important than ever to talk about culture, and people are finally understanding the real value and what it means after the pandemic. I
Yep.
mean, I came out of a lot of hospitality experiences where that is a thing. And even in hospitality, there are huge problems. People don't even want to come back to work. The hotel industry is having a lot of problems.
That's interesting. Yeah, it's going to my sense is that it's going to have to get a little bit worse to get better, because once the realization that the ability to get paid to stay home is gone,
Yeah.
that's when the awakening is going to happen to say, oh, you know what? The people that really want to work now, they're starting to come out of the woodwork because the reality is sitting in, right? And that's where it ties in with, you know, if we think of the offer that we're going to give our clients, we have to be able to make sure that our staff is on board with the culture of the company too. So we have to work on both simultaneously, and we have to discover both simultaneously, because you got to be able to execute what you want to implement, right?
Correct. You have to be able to execute what you want to implement. So if I'm a business owner and I'm faced with this, gosh, you know, my PPC ads are doing great and I've got the phones ringing, but I can't seem to keep people. The turnover is terrible. What do I do? People want to work from home. I can't accommodate that. So how do you have that? What is the conversation around that?
Oh boy, that's a good one. So the keeping people part would definitely be a company culture as to why, you know, what has happened, what's everybody, you know, why. Okay, so the disconnect, I think, now that we're talking about it, can be, what does the business owner want or require of his staff?
Yeah.
And is he tuned in with, because it's not about blaming someone else, you know, the like my mentor says, you know, the chokehold on any business is the owner's limitation, is the owner itself of the business, right? So if I don't know what my team desires and fears the most, what they want out of life, you know, their main goal in life may not be just to work for you. They might have bigger dreams and aspirations. You know, maybe they want to own a business like yours later on in life. Maybe they want to train and become an astronaut later on, and, you know, working at the hotel doesn't have anything to do with that, right? But the point is that if the leader, as the leader of the business, if I don't take the time and take my team out for a coffee one-on-one and peel back what they want and how I can be a source for them getting it, or how I can make the relationship between the company goals and their goals and make them synergistic, man, now you're creating some loyalty.
Yes. Okay. I'm going to ask you something, because that, when you said your mentor shares this idea that the real chokehold of any business is the business owner. So, you know, that makes sense. And there's no one that's going to disagree with that, but it's really worth a deeper look into that. I think that's a really powerful statement, because what then does that mean?
That's a great question. And you know what? As soon as you started asking it, I'm like, I got it.
Yeah.
When you ask the question, what can you say with confidence that your competition can't? Follow me here. With your business, you're selling widgets. Those widgets are supposed to create some kind of exponential productivity in someone's business. Could you sit there and say, could you find the courage to say, hey, you know what? I want you to try it. Take my widget, write me the check. I'll hang on to it for 6 months. You can have it back. If in 6 months it doesn't create this result, I'll give you your check back. And I'm just talking out loud, just as an
Yeah. I'm just taking notes about brilliant insights I have when you speak. So I'm not ignoring you.
It's okay. It's okay. And that's where, when we dig in with the client as to what historically, what historically is my real estate flipper producing for his grandparents' clients.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I'm taking you out of this home, and I have a 98%, let's just say I have a 98% chance of you not having a bad mark on your credit report or something like that. If you allow me to work with you, this is how well I take care of you through the process, is that we make sure that the foreclosure process does not kick in. I might even front some payments just to keep them at bay for you, because we have a solid deal. Now, who does that? Right? That's completely over and above, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's that courage to be able to stick your chin out and say, no, I've got this guarantee. I've got this ability to give more than any of my competitors right now, because I'm certain that I can deliver.
Yes.
And if I don't, I'll make it good.
Yeah. So what you're saying is who the business owner is as a person, their character, their level of integrity, their vision, everything about them. It's like the parent and the family, right? The father and then the children. So everything kind of trickles down from that. And wherever those limiting beliefs or limiting perceptions or closed in blind spots of perspective, that is where it's like the kingpin. It's like where everything either shuts on or shuts off. And I think everyone knows that. Like if you've ever been inside an organization, either as an employee or a consultant or whatever, it's glaringly obvious to everyone exactly what's going on, except to one person usually, right? Yeah.
Right. That's right.
And
No,
so,
let me ask you, Michelle, in your coaching business, in your business that you're in,
yeah.
who do you love to help the most?
Who do I love?
Who do you love to help the most? Yes.
Women very similar to me, people like me, because
Yep.
yeah.
And what pain are you taking away from them? What problem are you solving for them?
Almost always it's what I didn't finish, the loop I didn't close, the dream I didn't go after. What happened to my life? How did I wind up here without doing these things I really wanted? So it's a completion. And there's a lot of pain behind that. A lot of pain.
I get it. And I don't want to, I'm not going to go any deeper than that. However, I'm going to offer this as an observation, and you tell me if I'm on the right track.
Yeah.
So you're really in the business of delivering hope, and that there's plenty of time left.
Exactly. Exactly. And empowerment, it's like, yes, you can do it. It's very simple delivery, really.
Yeah.
It's permission, hope, do it now, you matter, belief, value, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
And what could be more important than staying in that lane when you're helping somebody? Can you imagine what that feels like, being with you by their side?
Mm-hmm.
And Michelle is going to walk right by me through this fire right now, and there's plenty of time to realize that dream, realize that what has been parked for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, it's very, very powerful, because what usually happens, and this is why I do think it's good to help people who you really understand, very often it can become very academic. And I think a lot of business owners do that. They get out. That's, I'm sure, where you're leading with this, but that people get out of their lane, and then you don't do anything well. So
it ties in with, you know, you know what the real estate flipper, his core value is. Your core value is delivering hope and a sense of there's plenty of time. So now when we tie that into our staff and we create a culture around those beliefs that we stand on, right? It's kind of immovable. I mean, would you allow me to change your mind about delivering hope and that message to your ideal client? Would you allow me to change your mind?
Not, of course not.
Not a snowball's in, right? Not going to happen, right? So the more important thing is to be able to connect, you know, because there's a huge challenge, and we talked about this earlier with people quietly quitting in the employment area today, right? And they're checking out because they are not, one of the biggest things is they're not fully engaged in the culture of the business.
Exactly.
And what is the culture of your business?
Yeah.
Who do you stand for? That has nothing to do with what the heck you do, right? Who's that group of people? I'll tell you, for me, I have, I'm a big patriot. I love our country. I love our veterans who've served. So my business benefits directly veterans in my community in business.
Yeah.
I build my business so that I can do more for veterans who need it, who might not ever have the ability to have any type of time with a coach, or may have never even had a business coach, right?
Yeah, I just think this is such a powerful conversation, Pete. I love what you're sharing. I know for certain that when you have employees, and it doesn't matter if you've got one, if it's a virtual assistant, or if you've got hundreds, that connection, people are looking for connection. They're looking for purpose. They're looking for a reason. And often when you show up in your certainty and your clarity, it's like a magnet, because it's almost like permission for people to find that within themselves. You become the role model, you become the pattern, and they might not even realize why they feel so good and they want to stay. But in my experience, I've had other businesses where I couldn't get the people to go home when I couldn't pay them. I mean, it was like summer camp energy all the time. And it was because I did it blindly. I didn't know I was doing it, but I was so deeply, joyfully, insanely committed to my vision that it was pulling all of us. It took on a life of its own. And I don't know that people, I think sometimes they're afraid to speak about who they really are and why they're in business at all. They're trying to be very academic about it. Like I was saying, like even when you're coaching, you can start thinking, oh, now I should really teach the 5, the 5 H's of happiness, or I'm joking, but you know what I mean? Like I should get really active because that will prove that. And no, it's being in alignment with who you are and what really matters. And then you know what to do. So I think it's interesting how many business owners, maybe they don't even know what they're doing or what matters.
You're right, because there's 2 things that they're not aware of typically. 3 things. One is,
oh no, 4 things. No,
maybe 4. But here's a big one. A big one is, okay, I've made the $1 million. How many unhappy millionaires do you know? Quite a few.
Lots. Yes.
Right. 2 is, what was your exit strategy when you got into the business? What's your legacy around what you're really building this thing for? Right? Whose life is it going to benefit? And 3, who do you love the most that once you make the million, I don't need the next dollar or any dollar past that to sustain my life. Who am I going to impact? And those are the clients when they have that picture, because for the real estate guy, do you know what the answer is? How many 7-year-olds can they rescue from human trafficking in Brazil, Costa Rica, Haiti, all these places that have this going on? And his employees are connected with the mission of the company and why they need to take care of grandma and grandpa when they buy their house from them.
Yeah, exactly. It's so funny how simple it really is, that we are wired to serve. And when you know that you're in business to serve and you have that kind of heart set mindset thing going, people hear that, they understand that. But I don't know how many people are sharing that with their employees. And everyone needs a purpose and a way to serve.
It's true. And maybe the owner is holding it as his secret project in the background.
Yeah.
Really doing it. He might be, peeling off 10% and writing a check to so-and-so, fund and not really sharing the story as to why it's important to him, or getting the employees involved in, feeding the homeless around Thanksgiving and, whatever that looks like, and getting everybody to feel as good as he does by writing that check.
Getting everyone to feel as good as he does. That's the thing.
Yep.
And it's a really different experience than like some of these franchises I was helping, who you sit in front of a computer for like 2 weeks, and then you'll see the slide go by. We give such and such percentage to, it's like that. This is not engagement. So how do you, I don't know which direction you want to take this. There's so many things to talk about, but that would become then part of what would be basically an irresistible offer for staff to help them become more engaged.
You could actually win over clients by not even talking about what it is you do, but what it is you do for others. They don't care. They're just signing up and they're like, hey, I want to come and buy your widget. And because I know what you're going to do with, you don't even take it away.
Yeah.
It takes it away.
I mean, they have that option on Amazon now, right? Or somewhere. Is it on Amazon?
It's Amazon. You can pick your favorite charity. Yeah.
Yeah. Or and I think there's also like green companies. You basically, people are choosing more consciously.
Yep.
And that's what employees are doing now too. They're saying, they're just like consumers, really. They're saying, I want more agency here. I'm like a savvy person. I liked my freedom. So please hear me. I didn't even know what I needed. Now I have this perspective. I'm more in touch with what I need. Please hear me and help me get what I need. Yes. So interesting times.
It is interesting times, and the shift and pivot. I mean, they're all buzzwords that are going on right now, but it's more about being awake to what's really going on in the world, and being a part of, how can I say this nicely? The nicest way is that we want to constantly look to be a part of the solution. I mean, I don't care what side of the aisle, I don't care what side of business owner or employee you're on, right? Mm-hmm. If my employee, that is, say, my rock star, is constantly looking for ways to add value and watch the bottom line of the company, looking for waste all the time, come into meetings with some solutions instead of some problems, and saying, hey, you know what? We identified that over in the shipping department, this was going on, that was going on. I've got like 3 ideas that I want you guys to get some decisions on how we can fix that. Well, first of all, you identified the problem. and you're coming to the table with some options and solutions, not letting me figure it out. You just raise the bar on what an A player looks like in my organization.
Exactly.
Right.
So I like what you said about the coffee conversations.
Mm.
Because if an owner or manager or whatever is taking the time to do that with people, building those relationships, I think just that, the act of doing that is providing, it's like if you're thinking of working here, I want to create an irresistible offer in terms of my environment where people want to be here and they want to think about the greater good. That one thing would make a huge difference. Don't you think? Like, I mean,
to your point, most of us don't take the time to actually measure what's the ripple effect, the ancillary benefits of, if you know, how many lives did you really affect by helping women have the hope and give them the ability to say, oh, there's plenty of time left, and what they were able to do with that time and whose lives they affected. Do you really know? You don't.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, it's crazy. It's like those videos where, you know, you pay it forward to one person and then you see 3 days later that all these people's lives were changed. It's very difficult to measure.
Very difficult to measure. But the feeling is unbelievable. You can't pay. I don't care what kind of check you write me. When I'm with you as a client and I see those light bulbs going off and now all of a sudden we've unleashed the leader of this company, who's actually taking my coaching and applying it weekly in their organization, and they're just taking what we talk about and flipping it right into what they're doing with their staff and doing the same thing. Because I tell them to. I said, you're wasting your money if you're not doing exactly what I'm doing with you, with all your staff. Every single time.
Yeah, it's so powerful. I truly think coaching is what is going to change the entire world, because we all need that human connection to lead us to the next. It is all about the ripples and the trickle down, and
can't put a price on.
Boy, do we need it.
Yep.
Boy, does the world need it right now. Okay, so one more question. So we're thinking about this irresistible offer as your product or your service or whatever. And you mentioned we have to know what they want, right? So if you're having these coffee conversations with your staff, that's what you're asking them. And then it's really going to be powerful if you can know the answer to the other question, which is what are you afraid of? Isn't that what you said? Desire and fear? Or am I getting it wrong? You said desire and fear. Okay. So how do you get there? Is that something you have to kind of intuit, or how do you draw that out of them? If you're I know how to do that as a coach, but maybe are you helping business owners have those conversations with people, or how would you do that?
It's a great question. Sometimes where we need to start is in the owner's sphere.
Interesting. Yeah.
Because
that's insightful.
Well, think of it this way. You know, if you work with me every day, chances of you mirroring my actions, my fears, and my what I'm verbalizing is coming out it could be fear talk just coming at you, right? Oh my God, we can't take
kidding,
right? So we need to address that first and invite them to get honest with themselves.
Oh, now there's a chokehold. If you can get through that would be very powerful. And any business owner that is working with a coach or not working with a coach, however you're doing it, who is willing to take the time for that self-reflection and that self-awareness, kudos to you, because that is a true leader. And
Now,
that's what it takes.
you must, as a coach, and you know this above all, I know you do, with the type of people that you love to help. There needs to be a monumental amount of trust to be that vulnerable, to say, I am the most fearful about, and actually come clean with it.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I mean, some people are ready, and usually, unfortunately, they're ready when something really painful happens.
Yeah.
I wish that humans were more motivated by vision than trauma, but often, and as a business owner, you don't always realize what is going on. Like, there's just so much information. So
see, and
yeah,
to your point, you as a coach, that it's not your job to actually have all the answers,
yeah,
right? So
absolutely.
you need to evoke and allow for that discovery to happen, right? Same with me in a lot of situations. However, when you interject business coaching or business, advising or
Advising, yeah.
mentorship, right? So I'll actually tell my client, okay, say, listen, we're at a place where I'm going to take coach's hat off
Yes.
and I'm going to put consultant's hat on for a moment. Would you give me permission to do that?
Oh, it's so great that you consciously do that. I think that experience is important and very valuable. So go ahead. Didn't mean to interrupt. I just want to shine a light on that for
No, thank
anyone
you.
watching. It's because it can be confusing, and when you're when the receiving end, it's a delicate balance. And obviously Pete is really aware of that and really cares about what the experience is on the other end, because you can feel weird or
Yeah,
you can feel pressured, or you can
sure.
feel put up a big wall because, wait a second, I didn't hire you for that. What do you do? You can feel like it's crossing a boundary. So it's wonderful that you are so transparent and about that. That's great.
Sure.
Important.
And I might open up something similar to this. You,
Mhm.
Michelle, feel that hope and the ability and the belief that there's plenty of time left to make a change in your client's life are the most important. Can I invite you to think about there might be a third? And it diffuses that.
Yes.
Now you might be saying, oh, well, what are you thinking about? It could be, what's the third thing? And now you're kind of open to it,
Yeah,
right?
because you've established, well, the trust is already there, right?
Yep.
And then I'm being heard. So you are giving evidence that you heard me
Yes, ma'am.
and that you care. And now you're taking me deeper. So this is the trail. I mean,
It's,
this is how it goes, and this is why it's so powerful.
yeah. That's why I loved when you asked me how. It's like, okay, have I really actually sat there and dissected what I really do? And you got me thinking about it. So it was like I never really talk about the how behind it, right? It's like now you got me thinking to unpack it and to say, oh, this is what really happens. And it's kind of neat to see how you receive it as well. So that's a
I think it
blessing.
is kind of neat. It's these are valuable conversations to have on many levels, because so often it's an interplay. It's a really magical relationship, honestly, and very intimate and very intuitive. And
Yeah.
it's like you're moving through this. So you don't really want to be in this cognitive place of, now I'm controlling this and this and this, but you want to have that skill set and the understanding and the being practiced at it. So that's what you're demonstrating, and I just think It's really, I think it's very helpful, anyone that is watching this, because they just experienced a little tiny snippet of like what that's like and understanding it. So
It is. I'll tell you what, it is. That's what I love coming on here and talking with you about this, because the more that I verbalize what actually happens in coaching, in business coaching, consulting, and that fine line between the two, the more I am truly grateful for picking this, because I really think it's one of the greatest things that anyone, to be a mentor, a coach, and to even a sports coach, somebody that coaches a
yeah,
team, my God, what a rewarding, it's not the money. That coach is not on that sidelines for the paycheck.
yeah.
It's just not happening. Right. And I really think that this path is really, so I'm just grateful, and I'm just expressing my gratitude for being in the profession. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, the world is calling all of us. I think this is why the coaching industry is exploding right now, because the world is really demanding that we expand, all of us. And it's a tremendous opportunity, like the conversation we're having today, where everything is interconnected. And we are much, even though a lot of people will say there's a lot of divisiveness and all this, I'm sure that's all going on. But from a coaching perspective, I see the opposite.
Mhm.
I see where people are striving to become better versions of themselves, explore different aspects of themselves, invite parts of themselves that they might have been hiding, like not necessarily consciously hiding, but like, hey, I really care about this cause, and I'm going to start to open up and share with my staff why I'm doing this. And because there's risk in that too. Like maybe they're going to run away from me. I mean, I don't think they're consciously thinking that, but you might.
Hey, I got news for you. I know, the suicide rate in business ownership is no joke. I mean, there is the suicides that happen as a result of, getting underwater financially, and the ripple effect into what it can do to a relationship, into what it can do with your kids and the rest of your family. That ripple effect is real. And
Yeah.
it's, I don't mean to talk about such a touchy subject, but you know what? It's the reality of what's going on. And if we have a chance to affect that by one at a time and change that perspective, and so that it does give hope that there's more time, it's massive.
I'm so pleased that you even brought it up, because this is what we have an invitation to do now. This is why we're on live, because social media is a tool to open up conversations that serve people. And yeah, I mean, that just sent shivers through me. Because we're on the inside, I know I talk to business owners all the time, and there is the need. There's a lot of needs, but resiliency, optimism, all the things that maybe 20 years ago you could say, it's just mindset. I mean, it's absolutely essential that we understand how to pull ourselves out and ask for help. And that's why having a coach, and I'm not pitching off coaches, I'm not like, I'm just saying I couldn't live without the groups I'm in, the mentorship, the coaches. I don't know how people do it. Like, it's just more fun. First of all, it's easier, and you gain insight. Like, just, I don't know, it's something that could take you years to figure out.
It shortens that time. And you know what, to your point, exactly. It's that feeling of, the business owners, most of us feel like we're out in the cold.
Oh my gosh.
Dealing with this. And hey, you know what? I'm the big bad business owner, and I need to be tough enough to figure it out because I'm Mr. Tough Guy.
Yeah.
Well, guess who used to think that? Okay. So, I'm right there with everybody, because you know what, we're guys, and guys fix things. That's what we're supposed to do.
How did you personally get to a point where, like, are there triggers or signals for you when maybe I should be asking for help in this area? Or because I know as a guy it's different. Well,
It is.
women have their own reasons. But yeah, so how do you deal with that personally?
Great question. I think it was, to be honest with you, now that I'm thinking about it, I think it was a stage of life thing. If
Oh, that
you
makes
and I were
sense.
having this conversation, and 5 years ago when I was in my 20s, I joke.
I know. I know.
If I was in my 20s and we had this conversation, there would be a whole
I know.
different
I
guy.
loved that 5 years ago in my 20s. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish we could do that. I think that's the next thing coming, the longevity shift. Okay, go ahead. The
Absolutely.
new coaching.
Hey, 50 is the new 30 as far as I'm
I
concerned.
know. It's
Uh,
true, actually.
it is. But to answer your question, I think that you know, there's a threshold of control that we all have.
Mhm.
And once we reach that and we say, oh, you know what? It can't get any lower right now.
Yeah.
And I really need to raise the white flag and say, okay, who's out there that could possibly help? And that's really where things start opening up. And when I see, it's the same thing, the when the student's ready to learn, the teacher shows up.
So true.
It's the same thing. It's like, okay, I did everything I knew how to do, and I need to reach out, and I need somebody's help. It would be like if I wanted to learn how to, shoot free throws, right? Am I going to have, the guy next door who's got a basketball hoop, or am I going to go see LeBron and say, hey, LeBron, give me 10 minutes of time with you, and what am I going to take away from that 10 minutes?
Yes.
Right. So that openness to say, and that mindset of, hey, you know what? I really need to surround myself with people that are operating at a high level, and maybe even a couple notches higher than me, because guess what happens? Everybody's level raises when you hang out with you're the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with.
Yeah, it's so true. You have to be really careful about that.
Yeah.
And Pete, we always go a lot longer than I
I'm
thought
sorry.
you were going to. No, it's not you. It's me. I really enjoy your company. I value your insight. I think this was a very valuable conversation. We could go on for a long time. So to close it up today, though, we'll be back again next week. And again, this is the Coaching Collective. I'm your host, Michelle Oliver, and we do have a summit wherein you can register for free. Anyone that wants to, I'll put a link in the comments on LinkedIn and Facebook, and you can just sign up, and that will give you access to interviews with all kinds of coaches in every niche. And if you want to learn more about that, you can DM me or whatever. And if you want to learn more about working directly with Pete, you can either message me. And again, like last week, I'll put his Calendly link in the comments, and you can just schedule a call with him.
That's
so
awesome.
That was kind of a mouthful, but is there anything before we go that you would like to add or just leave the audience with regarding this irresistible offer?
Yeah, I think as we talked it out, and as it gained its own momentum, I think the biggest takeaway, if anyone should have a takeaway, is think about, even if you're a one-person business, what is your company culture? What do you want your company to be known for? It's not just you. It's not just about you. It's about what's bigger, and what is the bigger calling for the purpose of your business and the purpose of your life, because that can change everything that can have a relationship with your irresistible offer. It can have a relationship with your ideal client. Everything will tie in to that culture.
I think that is the greatest takeaway because I can tell you, I've had different businesses, but every time I've worked alone, if I am not really connected to that, everything is difficult. You've got to know why you're doing what you're doing, or it's just too hard. 100%. It's just too hard.
Yep.
So, and everybody has that. So I love that you ended with that. Thank you so much. You are such a brilliant shining light. And I really appreciate your time and your attention and just the care that you have for your clients. It really, really shows, Pete. And so glad you survived that crazy Florida trip in the middle of the hurricane. And I will look forward to seeing you next week. Okay.
Sounds great. Thank you.
All right. Blessings. Thank you. Bye.